Good morning, everybody. Actually, it is afternoon. Um, I wanted to hop on here today and kind of expand a little bit on something that I have been talking about, this idea of recalibration, and kind of share some of my own journey and what this has looked like for me. So what I've learned for me is when we're expanding into who we are here to be, and really stepping into, whatever that is. For me, it's to make a, a an impact in this world, working with women, stepping through big transitions in their lives, and really stepping into the greater version of who they're supposed to be. And this has become a game of constant self-trust and courage, and working through my own fears and working through my own limiting beliefs. And these are things that have completely changed the course of my life and helped me really step into what it is I'm here to do. And having done this work, I am able to lead others through their own transformations, not to tell you how to do it or what it's supposed to look like, but to help guide you back to your own inner knowing, your own wisdom. Like, we are all so wise, and our bodies know, our souls know what we need and where we're supposed to go and where we're supposed to be. And when we can align with that as our truth, as our guide, it changes life so much. And this isn't a path that's defined by science or mathematics or a certain equation, or something that is spelled out in a book. It is truly a journey within. It's a journey to bring ourselves back to the soul of who we are, to who we are meant to be. And if you have a calling, a feeling, like, there's something more, there's something different, there's something that you're here to do, that's real. That's real. And I think that we're all brought here to find what our way back to what that is. And in this discovering, we have to look at our limiting beliefs, the things that we have taken on, the things that we have accepted about who we've been told that we are. And oftentimes most of the time, they're not our own beliefs. They're beliefs that we have taken on from other people, what we've been taught to believe, what we've been taught to think, this is the way it is, or, those aren't things that happen in this family, or, they're not. There are things that are taught, there are things that are learned, there are things that maybe we learned and heard over and over and over from someone in a position of authority that we never thought to question. And so when we go back and we go, well, is that really true for me? Is it true that it's not possible to do anything but live my life as an engineer and work until I'm 65 and hope I have enough to retire on, and that's my life? Or do I have the ability to really start to look at other options, other possibilities? Well, we all have that. We all have that ability to do that, but we also have to be willing to look at, and a lot of times let go of, the beliefs that we've had, the things that we've, and a lot of times it's a box that we have put ourselves in. And so again, I come back to that word recalibration. We recalibrate ourselves back to who we are, under all of the layers of conditioning, all of the layers of beliefs, all of the layers of the things that we've been told we're supposed to be, or the way we're supposed to do it or not do it, and start to create that path for ourselves. And this was something that in my own life, like, I did what I thought I was supposed to do, and that was my path. And, it helped me support my girls. It helped me put a roof over our heads and food on the table. And then at the age of 48, I went, God, there's got to be something else. I couldn't imagine continuing to live my life the way I was living it and doing what I was doing. I had a really good job. I got paid well. I loved the people that I worked with. I had the authority to hire and train and guide and manage and lead on a scale that, 25 years of a career brought. And I knew that there was something else. And so it really took me digging in, like, to unlock the truth and the purpose of me and why I'm here. And, again, this is not something that we're told by somebody else. It's something that I discovered on my path and working with coaches and healers and others who could help me see that there was a different way, but they didn't tell me what it was. So I had to get curious. I had to get curious about what was possible, and then step into that, step through the fears, let go and release the old beliefs and the things that had kept me in this mindset of, this is what I do, and this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life, into the world of possibility and what could happen. And I'll tell you, in my experience, I have, the tools and the skills that I have now compared to what I had even 5 years ago are incredible. And what I've learned in my ability to transform the things that have happened in my life, the way that I grew up, and being around addiction, not only growing up, but in my marriage and other relationships, how I continue to perpetuate these patterns. I continue to bring myself into situations that allowed me to stay in those patterns. And those were familiar, and that's what I knew. That was my comfort zone. And so when I started to step out of that and to really step into, how is it that I am creating these things, and what can I do different to create something different? There were times where it was really uncomfortable. There were times where I wanted to quit. There were times where I thought, this is not worth it. I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing and live my life the way that I've been living it. And every time I tried to do that, there was that voice in my head that said, Jen, there's something better for you. This is not your path. And so when I really started to listen to that, when I really started to lean into, how do I trust myself again? How do I trust myself to listen to what it is that I need and that I desire, and to create what I want to create? It really changed my perspective of how I see the world. First of all, I had to take radical responsibility for me, for my decisions, for the things that I had done in my past, the things that, maybe I wasn't so proud of, that were hard to look at, things that hurt people, things that hurt me, and taking radical responsibility for my life and my experience of this world is what allowed me to move forward in a different way, and to be able to walk through those times of discomfort. We have this void between where we're at and where we want to be, and walking through that void, like not knowing what's going to come up, not knowing how it's going to play out, can be really scary sometimes. And that is something that I've learned to, the more I step into that, the more I step into the patterns that have repeated in my own life, I've really started to tap into my own wisdom. I've really started to trust myself again, and know that there's no book or person or external anything that can guide me down the right path. Yes, there are tools. Yes, there are skills I can develop. Yes, there are, coaches that I can work with, and other people who have walked through similar situations. And that places the responsibility on me. That means I am in charge. I get to create. I took my power back to be able to create and forge a life that I love, a life that can help others see that there is a different way, that there's hope, that there's ways to create, there's ways to take the experiences of your life. Like I've had a lot of really shitty experiences in my life, and I can either fall victim to those and say, why is this happening to me? What did I do? Or I can step in and say, okay, this is what has happened. And now what? Now what do I choose to do with it? Now what? Like, what can I learn from it? How can I change myself, my thoughts, my life, my beliefs, so that I can create something that is better and different from this? And so it's learning to navigate that void, taking that responsibility, taking my power back, and knowing that I get to decide, I get to choose how I step forward. Do I always know what that looks like? No, I don't. And that can be really, really scary sometimes. Like when I left corporate, it wasn't, okay, I've got enough in my 401k and I can live for 6 months, and like what they tell you should do if you leave a good corporate, high paying, safe job to pursue your dreams. I was just like, okay, it's time to jump. Let's just fucking jump. And that's what it was for me. And I think I have a pretty high tolerance for shock, and and I know that's part of my path too. But learning to set boundaries around what I allow in, people telling me, you can't do this, you can't leave your job, how can you do this? You've built this career and whatever. Also realizing I'm in control of where I put my energy. So in the relationships that I have, there were some relationships where I put a hell of a lot of energy that was not like, there was no good that came out of it. And it was just exhausting. And that was a pattern that I had set up in my life. So in order to change that, I had to start to put boundaries around it, not only for other people, but also for myself. Like, okay, what am I willing to engage in? What am I willing to allow? And I have gotten a lot of pushback from certain people in my life since I have done that. However, it's my choice. It's my choice each day, even though sometimes it's hard. I heard something a while, like, I don't know, maybe a year or so ago, that boundaries are not, you don't put boundaries in place to push people away. You put boundaries in place so that you can keep those people in your life. And so again, shifting how I step into relationships and what my perspective on the world is. Another thing that I have learned is so important is our language, how we talk to other people, especially how we talk to ourselves. And that's something that I will talk about more. That's a bigger conversation. And I will certainly talk about that more, because it really, really matters how we talk to ourselves and how that shows up and plays out in our life. So these are just some of the things I wanted to share with you that have helped me really change the patterns that I have experienced repeat in my life, and to set myself up for creating something different, and taking those times where I could have chosen to fall victim and have in the past, or I could choose to take responsibility, to realize that I get to make a decision and choose how I step forward, and all of that coming to a point of being able to trust myself again, being able to know how I best make decisions. That's another thing that I love so much about human design, is it really gave me the words and the language and the permission to step forward in a way that was right for me. And that looks very different from the way that I always thought I was supposed to do things. So there are so many tools. There are so many ways that we can start to integrate that self-trust, taking back our power, realizing that we have a choice, and making a decision to move forward every day. And it's not always easy. and it's very messy. At least in my case, it was very messy to get to the point where I'm at now. But that's how we navigate the void between where we are and where we want to be. Because where we want to be is not wrong. It's not bad. It's just, how do we get from here to there? And it's in navigating that void, in learning how we can make that journey by taking full responsibility and in stepping forward. And sometimes we take a step that takes us away from that path, or that teaches us, like, this is not the way to do this. And that's how we learn. It's not a failure, it's how we learn. So I'm going to let you go for the day. Thanks for listening, and hopefully this was helpful for you. I know when I really started to believe that this path was possible and could be true for me, it really gave me a different sense of hope and desire to really step in and lean into what I was capable of and what I could do, and changing those beliefs that I had around what was possible for me. So I would love if you would subscribe to my channel, hit the little bell somewhere up here. And that way you'll get notifications when I post something new. Share with anybody you think this might be helpful for them to learn, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.